episode of the Laughter for All podcast. I am Comedian Nazareth. Thank you so much for joining us here every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Pacific time. And we are in episode number 91. So you've been with us for almost 91 episodes. And thank you so much for making us on the top 100. I don't know. I haven't checked. We were 56, then 71, then went back, went up. I don't follow that. I just make sure you guys are watching and you're enjoying the show with us. Also, I want to remind you tonight we're going to be on live with Naz at 8:30 p.m. On Facebook under Comedian Nazareth, which is an hour of laughter and encouragement. My guest today, it's called Laughter for All, but we bring people that can speak into your life and also can encourage you and can be real with us, and that's what has been, you know, the story of our podcast. So, my good friend, I love this guy. I've traveled with this guy. I've been to his home. We had meals together. We spent time together in not in the Bahamas, in the Caribbeans, not in a vacation place, but in Haiti, because Tim is he is the author and speaker. He has written 7 books, and his latest book, Good Neighbors Make Great Neighborhoods, encourages others to make where they live better by loving their neighbors. Tim serves as the president of New Missions based in Orlando, Florida. And that's the ministry where I got the pleasure of going to Haiti with them to stay in the compound and to meet his brother who lives there with his wife and serve, and to go to the villages together with Tim and to be able to feed children together. And for many years I used to get Haitian kids sponsored through New Missions, and I continue when the opportunity happens. I do love to get more of those Haitian kids sponsored. And but this, if you know the numbers, and he will share with us how many schools, how many churches that this man was involved in building in Haiti, and thousands of kids who can go to school and graduate and become Christian leaders. I mean, just amazing though, the amount of ministry that comes out of this man. And his prior to his birth, his mother had 7 children and 4 died, so she sought medical advice from the chief of staff at Boston Children's Hospital, and he recommended an abortion. At his birth, Tim made medical history for the number of blood transfusions. His personal testimony of his mother canceling his abortion has encouraged audiences to take a stand on behalf of the unborn. And you guys know how much I love promoting life here. Tim is a frequent speaker at conferences and events across the United States. So please welcome my good friend, Tim DeTellis. Hey, Tim, welcome.
Thank
Okay,
you.
I'm going to bring you back. All right, here we go. Hi, Tim. Hi, this is okay. Tim is playing hide and seek. Here we go. Here you are, Tim. How are you?
Naz, it's good to see you as always. And in your opening remarks, you mentioned about how we have enjoyed some food together. I hope that we could dive into some of your cooking recipes.
Oh, that's right. You've been to my house, and we had this barrel that I put chicken and tri-tip in. Remember that? Yes.
You fed me chicken out of a trash can.
Well, it's not a trash can; it's a barrel.
Okay,
I mean, I
so
call it a barrel. I mean, you can call it whatever.
uh, yeah, it was
The-
at first I was kind of scared. I'm like, I must not be one of your favorite guests because it's you're cooking in a trash can. But it was a barrel. I understand that, Naz. It was the best chicken I've ever had.
That's funny. Now, is Los Cabos, is that in the Caribbean next to Haiti or not?
No, I don't know it. I don't know where that is.
Cabos, San Lucas, Los Cabos, San
Los
Lucas.
Cabos. Is that the Dominican Republic? Maybe.
Oh, is it? Tell us about. Okay, you were born into ministry. Your dad. Tell us
Hmm.
the story of your dad, George, and your mom. Starting a ministry in Haiti.
Sure. I'm glad to see you're just totally avoiding the trash can chicken. It was amazing food, by the way. If you could ever taste your cooking, Naz, I think you should do a cooking show.
My
cooking
wife
show.
does, not the show, but my wife actually now have a catering that she does because everybody keeps saying you're the best cook. I just put the food in the barrel in the trash can, whatever you call it. But she does the spices and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, the story you bring up, Naz, really involves my mother and father, who were really pioneers. In 1983, they moved our family to Haiti, and we camped out in a tent for 3 months, literally, and began a work to establish churches and schools. I was only 11 years old. And so I grew up in Haiti. I speak Haitian Creole fluently, and it was a beautiful experience. It was hard at first. I was definitely that bratty preacher's kid wondering why on earth am I here. But as the mission began to reach more and more villages, I really saw the importance of us being there to give the gift of education and food and medical care.
That's amazing. And what's going on right now in Haiti?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. There has been a lot of unrest politically. There's a very tense election about to happen this fall in the country, and then there was a horrific accident this weekend with an airplane crash, and so it's just been sad to see, a country that's always trying to find its new role in leadership, and even internally, where there's so little infrastructure. That's one of the areas that New Missions has really thrived in the last 38 years, is building infrastructure. So we're under construction even right now. We're building a new church in Chateau, Haiti. We have built 30 campuses across Haiti, plus a high school campus. And it's important to bring infrastructure, schooling, education, churches, drilling wells. I mean, just providing clean drinking water to a village. It's transformative to that community.
Now, how many churches have you guys built under New Missions, your ministry, your dad's ministry?
Yeah, so since 1983, we have established 30 churches in Haiti. And so it's been unbelievable. And then the construction side of that is equally challenging, because we have built churches up in the mountains where literally it would take 2 hours to get to the destination. And then the last mile and a half is treacherous, just going up the mountainside to build a church and a school and a clinic. And but what that does to that community is it becomes a draw to children that live even further in remote areas. And we had children up in Tumgato, Haiti, that were walking up to an hour one way to come to school.
That's amazing. And how many
Yeah.
schools did you guys build other than the churches?
Yeah, so each of our churches has a school side by
Okay.
side, and that's our model. We do have 30 churches, 30 primary schools, but then we also have a high school campus. Hmm.
Tim, you said you moved to Haiti when you were 11. I
Hmm.
I went with you once and we spent I think a week or 45 days. But this is the only place, and I've been all over the world. This is the only place where I felt demonic oppression. It
Hmm.
was horrible, and we were hearing about some human sacrifices going on at night. It was one of those places I really felt the demand. How did you live under that from age 11 till how long? Till how long were you there?
I came back to the U.S. to go to college, and the the story of voodoo in Haiti, you have to look into their history to understand their present day reality, which is that voodoo is still the prominent religion, and it was really imported with the West African slaves when they came over to work the French plantations. And then in 1804, the French plantation owners, they were literally driven out by the Haitian slaves that revolted against the French masters. And it's actually the first country that freed itself from slavery. And it's an amazing story of history. But the religion of voodoo was at the center of a lot of their activity. So in 1804, the Haitians really kind of unified around voodooism as their religion. The Catholic Church was existent there because of the French, and then
Hmm.
they intermingled the two religions even over the years since. In Haiti, Catholicism has not denounced voodooism. And so when New Missions went to Haiti in 1983, it was really an attempt to pierce the darkness and bring the gospel. And that process to us, it wasn't hostile, but it definitely was transformational, right? Because you had children that would come into our school, but all that they ever knew was their mother and their father practicing voodoo. And it is oppressive. It's a very heavy fear-based religion. And then even in the communities, there's a lot of fear on who may have control over people's lives and their livestock or their gardens. And they would go visit the voodoo priest to do ceremonies to appease the spirits so they could go fish and find a harvest or a catch or garden and have a banana tree produce fruit, or even somebody who was sick they would bring to the voodoo priest for healing. And we've even been in situations where we had trained up midwives and nurses that would go into villages to deliver babies, and we would show up at a Haitian hut in a primitive setting, no electricity, no running water, and before we got to the hut to help deliver a baby, there would already be a voodoo priest there at the home.
Mm. Now, all I know about voodoo is like if you take a doll and you poke it, someone you don't like, you just is that like
That's mostly Hollywood,
oh,
which is very Hollywood, but it's very much a spirit driven religion. So you're appeasing different spirits for different reasons. And the unfortunate part, again, and this is where whoever finds God finds life, and Jesus comes to redeem and seek and save the lost. The call of Jesus was to make his heavenly Father known, and it's freedom, right? It's life. As you know, in the scriptures, it teaches that the old is gone and the new is here. So when you become a
right.
new creation in Christ, your life is made new. I have neighbors, their life I've seen just totally transformed because of the power of the gospel. In Haiti, the same thing. We've been to villages where there was only voodoo and darkness, and now there's light and hope and joy, and children who were once in homes where only voodoo existed, now they're thriving adults, they're working, they have jobs, they're employing people in their own community with their own businesses. And so you see transformation because there's
Mm.
not oppression, and there's not
Eh,
bondage, there's not fear.
I remember one time we were going from village, and you said, okay, now we're leaving right away. I mean, you kind of sense what's going on. You go, okay, let's get out of here real quick. But when you came into college back to the U.S. in Florida,
Hmm.
that's where you live. What have you noticed different being away since age 11, where that's the age where you start developing who you are? How difficult was that for you, Tim?
Well, the lifestyle I lived in Haiti taught me greatly about the value of community,
Hmm.
because in the village life, you're dependent on one another, right? For survival. The Haitians would go to the shoreline and collectively they would help pull in the fishing nets together. Gardening, you'd share crop or you would trade crop. If I was growing sweet potatoes and you were growing plantains or okra, I would trade you, one produce for another. But most importantly, there was connection and relationship. So I remember walking the path and a Haitian would come up toward me, and there was never an ignorance. There was always a bonjour or a bonsoir, good morning or good afternoon. They would greet you. It was actually an insult to ignore someone that you pass by. And then they always would ask you, Kiko te wale, where are you going?
Uh,
And it was not like,
being
spying on your
nosy.
face. Yeah, it wasn't spying on your Facebook page and not commenting. It was more of a, hey, I care about you. In case something happens, I want to know where you're going to be. And it really
Mm.
was the truth. People looked out for one another. You come to America and life is private and protective, and I'm behind my fence, and you stay over there, I'll stay over here. I believe what I believe, you believe what you believe, but let's not get along. And it's unfortunate. I think that life in general, religions aside, I think society needs more togetherness, and we need more of a community. And more importantly, I think that as humans, as we need to share life together because it's simply stronger and safer and better when we're enjoying life together.
When we were there, something that stuck to me, we were in the back of a pickup truck, not like ISIS pickup, like one of ISIS pickup truck, but without those weapons. But we were sitting in the back and we were throwing candy to the kids. And this little kids, some of them don't even have clothes. They're running, and once they grab a candy bar, instead of eating it or running away, they stop and they cut it into pieces and they give it to each of the other kids. And they don't eat till they gave everyone piece. I'm like, wow, Lord, I want kids here in America to learn that. Like they share everything they get. That was
Yeah.
amazing.
And we see that right now in our schools. We do an annual campaign called Shoebox Drive, and we collect shoebox gifts from our sponsors and friends of New Missions from around the country, and we'll send to Haiti cargo containers filled with shoebox gifts. And then they arrive at our schools, and the teachers give them out to the children. And I've been in the classroom when they'll do this. And Naz, it's mind bending when you see a child get a gift, it's for them, and then
Hmm.
they open the lid, they look inside, and then they close it, and you're like, no, play with the toys, and they want to wait until they get home. You know, they
Oh.
want to share it with their family. It's just so humbling to watch, not just the gratitude, again, the community, the togetherness that, I want to be able to see my brother or my mother enjoy something that I got at school today.
Now, being the president of New Missions, that's a big
Hmm.
ministry. That's a lot of pressure. How did that impact your kids growing up, your family, your wife now? How has that impacted you?
Yeah, my roles and responsibility are mostly here in the U.S. Internationally, my involvement is mostly on vision and funding. So we'll communicate with our field directors on what are their needs. We'll hear from them areas we want to expand and grow. So, for example, right now we're building a church in Chateau, Haiti. And so we'll have the conversation, where do we need to build infrastructure next? And then I'll go and help fundraise with our partner churches and donors in the US to help implement whatever that vision and strategy is for the field. But when it comes to that, the work life balance, it's a common question, right? How do you handle leading anything these days, especially in multiple countries with teams and people everywhere? My phrase is gas on, gas off. So I enjoy working really hard and sprinting really really fast, and then having some time off. For example, in the fall, I'll be back on the road speaking and traveling. And there's this one Sunday, September 19th, that I will not book because if I do, I'll be on the road 8 weekends in a row. And I'm like, not gonna get. I want to be home at least that 1 week to break up 8 weeks, right? Because
Right.
you've done it. You've been on the road traveling for decades. At a certain point, there's a breaking point, right? You've been gas on too long, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh no. So I have to do a gas on, gas off approach, and I do retreat well. I definitely my favorite place is to just go in the backyard and sit in the fire pit or go for a bike ride around the neighborhood.
Now, does your wife, when you come back, does she have a honey-do list for you, or when?
Oh, Naz, my wife, she's a gift from God, but there's one thing that I still don't know if we've finished that marriage course, and that was, how to assign tasks to one another without cause.
To one
you know,
another? Oh, it can go both ways.
oh no, I think it's a
Y-
circle. I think
Ah,
everything boomerangs. So my problem when it comes to my wife and tasks is because I travel so much. The weekend is when she would think that I'm available to help her with something, right? But if
that's
I'm home on a weekend, it's
I wonder.
not the weekend I want to work. It's like
Right.
so she does travel some for her work. She works in the medical field and
Oh,
runs two pharmacies, so she does travel. And there was a week when I was home, Naz, and she went away,
ooh, I
and
know
she
what
left
you mean.
me she left me a honey to-do list.
How big?
And well, there was actually only one thing on the list, and it was to water the garden. So she loves gardening, and it's actually what we call her happy place. And I have found relationally, it's the one place we actually have good conversation because there's no distractions, right? You put the phone away because you're watering the garden, you're pulling some weeds. It's actually, I think, relationally, it's been a gift. But she went away for a few days to Texas actually, and literally comes home. And what does she do? She runs outside. She goes to the garden. She's all excited, and then I heard her yelling from the garden, "You killed the cucumbers!" Because I skipped watering the garden for one day, and it killed the cucumbers. It
The
was like
cucumber.
I killed the cucumbers because they dried up. We're in Florida. I mean, you have to water it every day, and so I that honey to do list
You
failed.
killed the cucumber.
One thing,
That's
Naz.
memorable. That she's gonna remind you of that for a while. You know
And
what? I can tell you,
I'm
I had.
sad because she made really great homemade pickles. Do you like pickles?
I do. Did you know that pickles? They said I was reading a study, not reading. I was listening to a study that said that if you when you're working and you start getting distracted and you're just foggy, eat a pickle because the vinegar and the salt can really get you refreshed. But I mean every marriage have challenges, but I know I had my challenge maybe in my marriage. I mean not as much, but I've never killed a cucumber. I That's
I
horrible.
It's horrible. I think it should be the title of my marriage book, right?
I think we need to
Kill
end the
cucumbers.
conversation because you're a bad example to other husbands. No, I'm just
It's
kidding.
terrible. It's terrible.
No.
But the pickles, back to that, you're right. I did read if you become dehydrated, you should eat
Mhm.
a pickle.
Ah,
And that, yes, because apparently, like you said, the vinegar and the salt, it actually helps to rehydrate.
well, too late now. You killed the cucumbers.
I
We're
killed
not
the
getting pickles.
cucumbers.
So you have, this is interesting. You have a group of people, the communicator circle. Tell us about that on Instagram, the communicator circle.
Yeah, Communicators Circle, it's really a network of communicators that I have met around the country because I believe that communication is a gift. Even what you're doing today, it's a gift. The fact that you're giving your time, your voice, your thoughts and ideas. And then I had the honor to do a TEDx talk in 2020 titled "Are You a Good Neighbor?" And through TEDx Eustis and the community in which I live, I met a lot of other speakers and authors and writers and creatives. And I enjoy synergy. I really love when
Mm,
people come together in a room and you can talk about maybe projects you're working on or bounce ideas off of one another. You know, as a comedy writer, comedy is the most honest justice, right? But you
yeah,
need an audience to tell you what's funny. You can write or dream or think, but you need a room to deliver, and then the audience gives you the gift of confirmation, and you have comedy material now. So
right.
the communicator circle is a place that I'm helping other communicators, be better in their craft to communicate with complete clarity and confidence. And there's some areas that we focus on, like story development, structure for a talk. We also do a lot when it comes to sharing your ideas through social media. We have some people that are really great content creators, writers that are doing novels and screenplays. And so it's just a
Mm.
great environment just to share and network and meet up. And then I'm also posting some videos just to encourage all of us along the journey because we're all communicators. And nowadays, I mean, who's not, right?
Right. And you guys have a question like code what was your win, what was your oops, and what was your wish? What was
Yes.
that about?
So when I do a meetup with other communicators, being creative like you are, the hardest job is focus, right?
Mhm.
How do we focus? So when I meet with communicators, I'll ask these three questions. What is your win, your whoops, or your wish? And it really begins a dialogue on what's happening in your world. And then we can kind of from there jump into maybe some collaboration, maybe some coaching and help that person be better wherever they're going in any of those three answers.
Well, other than killing the cucumber, what
Right.
was that a win or a whoops? Oops.
That was a whoops, but I've had some other whoops lately.
Tell us. Oh, I love to hear other than because the cucumber story is gonna stick. So go ahead. What
Okay,
other
so
oops did you have?
yeah, so actually through Communicator Circle, I launched a book club, and somebody says, Tim, why do you have time for this, or how do you have time for this? So I'm an endless learner, and
Hmm.
I tend to be self-inflicted with deadlines. Even for my work at New Missions, every deadline I'm self-inflicting, right?
Right.
So I created a book club so I would read regularly and then encourage others to read with me, and then we can meet up on Zoom and talk about the book. I mean, what a great idea. Now I'm forced to read the book.
Right.
So there's this book I'm reading called, I'm actually done reading it now, called Storyworthy by Matthew Dix, and I made it the inaugural book pick for the Communicators Circle Book Club. And then I thought
Mm.
to myself, well, I have a Communicator Circle podcast. Why don't I interview the author? That would help in the learning. So I reach out to him on Facebook and reach out to him on his website. He finally responds and says, yes, I'll do an interview. I'm like, this is amazing. He's a best-selling author. I mean, just Moth Story Slam winner. He's done 5 TEDx talks. He gets with me on the Zoom call. We do the interview, and I only booked him for 20 minutes, Naz. And I'm like,
Mm.
I don't want to take any more time. 45 minutes later, I mean,
Oh.
just mind blowing, amazing. We get done, and he's like, this was great. I didn't really expect it to go this long. This was wonderful. You've been great, your questions. And And
Oh, don't tell
I
me. Oh, don't tell me. I knew where you're going with this. Ah,
it didn't record.
record. Ah, I've done this before. Oh, it's horrible.
And
Ah,
you can't get back the moment. Like you're
no,
no
no.
uh, and and so now I have to reach out to him. Like I waited literally 3 days to tell him. I was so and I even messaged. I sent out a support request to Zoom, and I'm thinking maybe it'll be somewhere in the cloud because I clicked the box cloud
Yeah,
record.
yeah, nothing.
3 days. Finally, I email him, and he's a storyteller, right? And storytellers love suspense and surprise. So we both laughed at the end of it. He says we'll do it again, but he can't do it until August.
Okay.
And you know and I know whoops happen in all of our lives. And I even told Holly at New Missions here at our office, oh, I couldn't believe it was a great learning experience, but I can't share it with the world. I can't put that interview out there and go, listen what Matthew was telling us about how to write better story. And she says to me, but you made a better friend.
Oh, let me ask you this personal question. It's completely different than you're an artist because you are a great, wonderful pianist and musician. You're also a wonderful speaker. But on the other side, you are the fundraiser for your ministry. Now, I'm in the same boat. I'm a comedian. I'm an artist. I like to do comedy. I like people to hire me to do comedy and to speak and all that. I do all that. But at the same time, I have two nonprofits that I have to raise funds to. Do you feel there's something just taken out of you when you become that person that people look at and go, "Oh, he's going to ask for money." How does
Yeah.
that? I mean, it kills me to be in that place, but then I go, it's for the Lord, it's okay. How do you deal with that, Tim?
That's an excellent question, Naz. Personally, I've said this to our team 1,000 times. We have nothing to sell, and
Mm,
what we share is a vision, and the vision is the life change. So the opportunity to give to a project is not to just build a church, but it's to transform that community. So I try to share vision more than need. And so the vision for
mm,
you is, you're going to reach an audience, nationwide, worldwide with your platform, and people want to give to that vision to bring laughter to the world when there's a lot of people hurting. Most people, I mean, now in America, the statistics of depression and suicide is astronomical. More than ever, we need the greatest medicine on the planet, and that's
mm,
laughter. We need more comedy. We need Nazareth to be who God made him to be. What is the promise that God made the world when he made you? That's
mm,
something worth giving to. That there's a vision to what you do. So for me, I share vision. The other is I always, when I ever have a conversation with somebody about an opportunity to give to, I simply say this: if God puts it on your heart, I know I'm not the one. I'm not the somebody here at the office recently asked me the question about growth. Like, what is the growth strategy?
mm.
And Naz, I'll share this with you, and this is very transparent, and you may make me cry.
I would love that.
I I don't grow anything. I only cultivate. God is the God of the harvest, right? I don't I don't bring growth. I cultivate healthy environments for growth. So if my relationship with a pastor or a donor or a friend or a neighbor is healthy, I've had neighbors come to a comedy concert for Laugh All Night and sponsor a child. But I never asked them, "Hey, neighbor Mike, if, would you give to New Missions?" No, I just cultivated a good relationship. It was healthy. When they came to the comedy concert, they already knew me, trusted the organization, and wanted to get involved. There was nothing to sell. I just cultivated an environment for healthy growth.
Tim, thank you for being real and emotional stuff. I'm a comedian and I got a stupid mind. When you said cultivate, I was thinking of the cucumbers that you killed. I'm like, you're not
I know.
cultivating anything.
I know. Trust me, I'm still mourning the loss of those cucumbers. I actually did a message. I actually finally was able to incorporate that into a Sunday morning message about being spirit led in your life. You know, what are you rooted in, right? And so, I mean, I killed the cucumbers because I didn't water them. only one day, if I'm not rooted in the spirit of God in my life, I'm going to dry up and die. Every day
Amen.
I need to yield to the spirit.
Right. Now, tell us about you started Laugh All Night. Laugh All Night is a ministry, an organization that puts comedy shows at churches all over the country, and they bring comedians, good comedians, I must say. And other, no, it doesn't mean. But and at the end of the show, they play that video about new missions, and people do, and I've seen hundreds of people do
Mhm.
that. They sponsor a child. What gave you the idea, and how is that going with Laugh All Night?
Thank you. Yeah. So I'll tell you, first of all, in 2004, I founded Laugh All Night because I wanted to come alongside churches to bring them a night of comedy that would help them reach their community. At the same time, it introduces their church family to new missions. The idea really incubated and began because of a mutual friend you know, Ken Davis. And
Yeah.
Ken Davis, I was attending his workshop in Buena Vista, Colorado. I'll never forget this. Rich Prater was there with me. You know Rich
Yeah.
Prater well.
Yeah, of course, my
And
student.
yeah, and so he and I were there, and Ken was talking about selling the benefit. As a communicator and as a speaker, he would go out and travel and speak the country. And I mean, great comedian, speaker, author. And he talked about when you're marketing your services as a communicator, as a speaker, you don't want to sell the features, you want to sell the benefit. And I was
Mm,
thinking, what could new missions do to help churches and what would the benefit be? And all I kept thinking was laugh all night. If they would laugh all night, that would be the benefit.
hmm.
Right? At the end of the day, when the curtain closed, did they laugh all night? And that I just so I literally went down to the local public library. This is like pre cell phone data plan. I think I had maybe a Nokia flip phone or something or
I remember you bought all the names under
yeah.
laughallnight.com and laughter that yeah.
So I went down to the public library in Buena Vista, Colorado, and I bought the domain name on the local public library computer.
Wow.
Hmm.
That's amazing. And it's been getting a lot of children sponsored,
Yeah.
helping people laugh. What a great idea. I want to get you're an author. You're also a musician, a great musician. I don't know how people can listen to your music.
My music actually, technically, Naz, I have to issue a warning and an apology. Okay, can we
Why?
just? Well,
Go ahead with the
I
warning.
the warning is you cannot listen to my instrumental piano music. If you wherever you stream music, if you type in Tim DeTellis, I have an endless piano series. It's instrumental piano, but it's improvisational. So I sit down
Really?
and I sit down and play, and whatever happens is what's recorded.
Are you serious? You can just
Yes,
make it up? Do you have
yes.
anything right now? Do you
Well,
have anything?
yes, not on me. I mean, if you want me, I can pick up an accordion and play. But
Go
here,
ahead.
here,
Let's
but
do that.
well, here's the thing. The warning is, I've had parents tell me their ADD children listen to it to fall asleep at night. So don't listen to it while you're driving. The second warning, and I apologize for this, and it wasn't my intent. There's a recording that I did, and I uploaded it to the distribution to go on to iTunes and
Right.
Google Play and Amazon Music and Spotify, and I clicked a button accidentally, and the track is explicit.
That means nobody can hear it.
There's no lyrics, Naz. There's no words, there's no singing, there's no lyrics, but the instrumental piano track is explicit. So it doesn't make any sense. How can it be explicit? Did I smash the piano? Like did I bang on it like too loudly? I don't mean it was an
So
accident.
my
I
kids
clicked the
can
button.
watch it. My
No,
kids can listen to it.
so my kids are like, Dad, how could you publish explicit instrumental music?
Oh, okay. Let's put you on the spot. Go ahead.
Okay,
Play
I don't
some.
know. So
I
so the,
love the
now
spontaneity of this man.
so so this is an accordion,
Uh
and
huh.
I learned to play the accordion in Haiti because we had no electricity.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
so
true.
you had to like go to the village with the accordion.
That's explicit, man. I can't hear. I get dirty thoughts in my head right now just
It's
thinking of that
terrible. It's
music.
terrible.
No, I'm just kidding. Can what do you call it? You just made that up right now?
Yeah, just playing around. Sure.
Oh, it's not like something.
No, I don't know what I'm doing.
But I've
Well,
seen you play the piano on Sunday morning. That service is amazing.
yes, and I love worship. That was really where it all began. In Haiti, I would lead worship for the missionaries at the mission.
Mm.
And then what happened was I started writing some songs, and then I went to the studio to record them, and the engineer was like, "You really can't sing that well." So I just
So
start. So that's why I do instrumental music.
that's funny. Now let me ask you. I'm gonna go over some. You're a wonderful author. You have 7 books so far. I'm gonna go over each because I know there's a lot of gold that you can help people who are watching and listening to this. Your book, "Good Neighbors Make Great Neighborhoods," may where you live be better because of you.
Mm,
Tell us what is some pointers that will help
sure.
people who are watching. Listening.
Yeah, Naz, that's a book that is written from a vantage point of me not being the good neighbor. So I confess, I'm going to raise my hand. I, Tim DeTellis, confess I was not the good neighbor.
Well, did you kill the neighbor's cucumbers too? No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding.
No,
I'm just
it would have
kidding.
been nicer if I only killed the cucumbers. But what happened was I ignored my neighbors. I would travel and speak on the. I would literally go on the road to a church
Hmm.
and preach a message that your mission field is right where you are. But I would go home and I would hide in the backyard at the pool and I would ignore my neighbors. I wasn't living what I was preaching.
Mm.
And I did not love my neighbors. Okay. So we ended up moving. And when we moved, I really felt convicted. I said to my wife, we need to get to know our neighbors. And I'm not kidding you, Naz. In 12 months, it was like I never experienced anything like it. We had neighbors coming over for barbecues, for campfires. We'd have movie nights. We eventually started a Bible study in our home. And I mean,
Wow.
it's been transformational because we began to introduce ourselves to our neighbors. We began to celebrate them. If a neighbor got a new puppy, we were like, wow, look at River. We would literally stay aware of our surroundings. So if a
Mm.
neighbor would go out of town, we would check on their house for them. And
Oh.
then the most important level of being a good neighbor is being available. So, like, I mean, I had a neighbor recently who was moving and calls me up and says, hey, can you help get some guys together to come over and help move the fence? Because we learned the fence is 14 feet into the neighbor's yard. So, like a good neighbor, I called some other neighbors to go over and help. No, I went. I'm kidding. I went. I went and helped. And there were 6 of us helping to move a fence. And so what's interesting, Naz, is as you as a neighbor, if a neighbor knows you're available, that's a huge win in your community because they know you're looking out for them. So that's what the good neighbors make great neighborhoods is about, is really first introducing yourself to your neighbors, right? You have to say hello. It starts with a simple hi, my name's Tim, I live right around the corner. And then the second is being celebratory, so celebrate your neighbors if it's their anniversary or birthday, and then inviting your neighbors to things. So, we invite neighbors to go out to dinner together or come over to the house.
Wow.
And then we stay aware of each other and then we be available.
I have this is a true story and just happened because our next door neighbor, she's a physician assistant and her husband's a great guy. And we just took their number and we never talked a lot. One time I saw a van in front of their house and I kind of looked suspicious. So I called him. I go,
Mm,
hey, listen, I'm your neighbor. He goes, oh, no, no, that's the plumbing guy. He's coming. He's okay. And then we've developed this friendship. And, my wife, Maha, and his wife just became good friends to the point that tomorrow we're going to Baltimore for 10 days and they're going to watch our dog.
wow.
But the week before, they gave us their 2 dogs to watch, which is still less energy than our Delilah. But it just, we developed this friendship. And now I'm just really, it's one of those, because I'm an evangelist, I want to share Jesus with them. Well, last week they were going to Cabo, him and his wife. And I said, can I pray for you? And you can
Mm,
see people just freeze like that. They're like, okay. And then I prayed that they would have a safe trip, that they would love on each other, that would take time to listen to. And after I was done, they were like, Oh, thank you so much. That was amazing. That was amazing. We're slowly trying to get to them, but I like to get to know my neighbors. But this neighbor, the new neighbor I became friends with, but he has a horrible dog that keeps barking. And now I'm like, I wish I wasn't nice to him because now I could have told him, hey, get this dog out of here before I taxidermy him. But but anyway, so other that's a great point. So the first point is be available. That's be available for people for
Well,
your
the yeah,
neighbors.
the first is introduce yourself. So I have a domain name. If you go to, it's actually National Good Neighbor Day, or bethegoodneighbor.com. And if you go to bethegoodneighbor.com, you'll see my TEDx talk on being a good neighbor, and then also the mindset of a good neighbor, which are those 5 areas. Introduce yourself, okay? Then you
Mm.
want to celebrate others. You want to invite them over. You want to stay aware, and then you want to be available.
That's amazing. Your second book is called Be Worth Following: The Seven Priorities of a Leader.
Mm.
Uh,
Well, Naz, you're touching on something that's near and dear to my heart, and that is influence. And I
mm,
believe everyone you know is a gift, right? So in my leadership role, I steward relationships, right? It's really not about money. It's not about an organization. It's about relationships, right? That's all an organization is, or people. The funds come through people.
right.
So, for example, tomorrow morning at 7:30 a.m., I'm leading a group of 6 guys in a mentoring group that comes from that book. And so what I do is I mentor young leaders in leadership principles so that they can be worth following. And actually tomorrow's lesson is on vision
Mm,
because as you know, a leader without a vision has no future.
wow. A leader without a vision has no future.
And
Right.
scripture teaches us that without a vision the people will
Right.
perish. Why? Does it why is it so strong of a word that they will die without a vision? It's because you have nothing to live for. If you don't have a vision for your life, why wake up? If you don't have a cause worth dying for, right? I mean, that's really the extreme of it. But the reality is, why do we have to have vision? Is because it gives us something worth living for. And for these, 6 guys tomorrow morning, we're talking about vision and we're going through these 3 areas of how to cultivate a vision in your life. The first is your faith. So how much faith do you have? And then that faith really, because I believe that, my life is not about my strength or my capacity. It's about his, fuel in my heart, the Spirit of God working through me.
Amen.
So how much faith do you have? Because if somebody says to me, I don't really have any vision for my life, I would begin to ask the question, where is your faith? We would start
Mm,
there. And then I would begin to talk about after that. The second point tomorrow is going to be talking about what is your experience, education. What do you know that's unique to you? So you're an amazing performer, speaker, comedy writer. You can have a vision because you have an experience. So now you want to write material for this next tour. That's a vision you have because
mm,
of this experience. And then the third is the hardest part about vision. The hardest part about vision is execution. Because
wow.
most people
Yeah.
want to dream all day, right? But they don't want to go do the work the second day. So they'll come to the brainstorming meeting and, oh, let's hang out and have coffee with Tim. It's so fun. But then on Monday, they don't want to go to work. They don't want to get it done. You have to execute the vision. That's where value shows up. So until you
That's the
execute,
hardest thing.
it's the hardest thing. Most
It's
people
the hardest.
quit.
Because, to be, when you're creative, you're more of a dreamer and you just
Hmm.
have to kind of pick and choose some of those dreams and kind of put action to them because otherwise you're just a dreamer and you don't get anywhere. You're right. That's amazing. Your other book, your third book says, Say Goodbye to the Fear of Public Speaking.
Mm,
Okay. Give us some
yeah.
pointers for that.
Okay. So you've heard the phrase that people are afraid to get in front of an audience and speak, right? Next to death, it's like the greatest fear. So
Right.
I'm convinced, and I could be argued off this cliff, but I'm convinced fear comes from the lack of predictability.
Fear comes from the lack of predictability. Oh,
Right. So let's say
interesting.
when you and I experienced the COVID crisis, the
Yeah.
unknown was a level 10. So fear was like, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, right? So if you and is there a sport you play really well? Are you a professional?
Soccer.
Soccer. Okay, I'm a professional miniature golfer.
Oh, you are.
No, I'm short. That's the only
No,
sport I can play.
I'm just,
I I can't
I'm
play
just kidding.
basketball.
I knew
I
that.
can't play
I was trying to lead
volleyball.
you.
Yeah, so my point is the the predictability. Somebody commented about the fear of spiders is close second to
Yes.
death. So somebody that's familiar with spiders or knows how to handle them has no fear over them because they have predictability. I have a friend in Arizona in Phoenix. He loves snakes. I can't even begin to tell you how many snakes he has in his house in his garage. He has pet snakes.
Just
I'm
like my pastor.
terrified. Right, I'm terrified of snakes, but he's familiar. He has predictability. There's no fear.
Ah,
So when it comes to public speaking, watch this. Most people are afraid to take the stage because they haven't prepared.
exactly.
They don't know where they're going. It's like getting in a car and going, I'm going to drive to California, and you don't have a map. How are you going to get there? You need the GPS to navigate you. So, as a communicator, the more that you clearly prepare, you build confidence and you know where
Mm,
you want to lead your audience. So, it's not a fog. I say it this way in the book that the audience can't stand a communicator that is not clear, where there's fog, they're lost. Worse than that is a communicator that's boring, right? So if
mhm.
you're lost and boring, then you have just the worst case scenario. But when you prepare and you have clarity, then you can communicate with confidence, and then your audience is not only engaged. The term I use more than entertaining is you've earned their attention.
That's a great
You
point.
earn their attention.
You're so right, Tim. It is. It is. I mean, there is always that kind of fear from going in front of people. But once within 2 minutes, if you're prepared, then you're so taken into what you have to say, and you're right. Yeah.
I'll actually tap your shoulder for a minute, Naz. You're a great comedy writer and speaker and communicator. But Steve Martin said this. He said that in comedy, your audience wants spontaneity, and he said prepare for it.
Yes.
Right. So
That's
it's
right.
not that you don't know what you're going to do when the moment shows up. You know how to navigate that moment, right? So you're prepared for surprise.
Right.
And that's what makes the audience wonder, like, wow, how did he pull that off? When somebody stands up in your show and they start walking out, like you probably have a few ways to like say
Handle it.
something, handle it.
Yeah. I talk
The
about the
bathrooms, the
letters.
bathroom's closed. Sorry, the bathroom's closed. I mean,
I always like raise like a hand, like, hey, I have a bottle of this for bladder issues if you need one after the show, stuff like that. But you're right. I'm prepared to handle any situation because of experience too. I mean, I've been doing it for so long that I kind of,
mhm,
I've been through situations. But you're right. You're very good. You wrote another book called "Be the Mentor, Give Away Your
mhm,
Best Ideas."
mhm.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's a strong statement for me. And the communicator circle has actually come from that idea of giving away your best ideas. So I'll sit with other communicators, and I believe that if you share with somebody else an idea that you may think to yourself, this is really good, I may not want to share it. That's not really living generously. I mean, I think life is really about how much we give and grow through people, and that's really the greatest gift we can share. Is so mentoring to me is the highest level of generosity that my life will ever be involved with. You can give your money, right? But I you can go make more money, but you can't go make more time, right?
Right.
So if you give of your time to mentor someone, that is the highest level of giving. And so that's what I'm doing tomorrow morning with Leadership Tree Academy. And so the mentoring these young leaders. So I write content for them each month, and then we do a Zoom. And you want to mentor others, but the most important part of mentoring is enabling and empowering them to then go be the mentor, right? So it's not that you spend your whole life absorbing and taking, but then you begin to share and you begin to say, hey, let me invite you to come alongside me. And mentoring can really exist in multiple forms. Some of it's very formal, some of it's informal. I mean, you and I both have had mentors from afar that we admire and learn from, and then there are others that are up close. I got a new mentor this year, Naz,
Mm. Who's that?
even in my own life. Well, his name's John Thurman, But I prayed for this man for over a year, but didn't know him
Hmm.
because that was the single criteria. I wanted a mentor who did not know me so he could help reveal my blind spots. Because the people closest to me make me feel comfortable. Like, hey, yeah, good
Right.
job, or they like you, or they know you, and they're kind of used to your quirkiness. And but he can look at me. You know, we've been together for nine meetings this year already, and he can say, Tim, that's no pause, time out. You know, let's double take on that one. And it's so refreshing to have a mentor. And I think we all, and it's not a paid relationship. This is him choosing to be with me and me choosing to be with
Huh.
him. So it's not this like codependent weird thing going on. It's truly his choice to be with me and my choice to be with him.
Wonderful. Let me ask you this. I mean, you've done enough ministry and you've done enough accomplishment for 3 lifetimes. I know that about you. I know you. Uh, do you have any insecurities? Do you sometimes feel, I wish I was taller. I wish I was younger. I wish I was older. I wish. Do you have any?
Taller. Thanks, Naz. Taller.
No,
You
no. I
had to
mean,
bring taller. You
you
said
talk
it.
miniature golf.
Taller, taller. You know, I'm like, I mean, look the camera. Look, it's like, I mean, I'm like so short. It's like,
Wait, you're not that. I'm 5'8". So
okay. So
we're not.
here's the
Now we're
Naz.
the same height.
Here's the truth. In the book, Say Goodbye to the Fear of Public Speaking, I talk about self doubt.
Mm,
See, that is the enemy of progress in our lives. And for me personally, that is the issue you deal with. Whether I lack the education, or maybe I didn't have the experience, or I don't have enough hair, or whatever's going on. And self doubt, it delays us and distracts us from what God wants to do through us. You see,
mm.
we get lost in the idea that it's about us when it's not. So I really do. I spend time fighting against the lies in my mind, because self doubt creeps in.
And please
And
let understand. Just to clarify something, I never meant physically. I mean, at physicals are easy. Oh, I told her stuff. It was just an example. But I know there's inside. There's people say because I'm
sure.
single, I'm this. Because I didn't finish college,
hmm
I'm this. Because so that's what I wanted to get and how to deal with that self doubt. Go ahead. I'm sorry to
Yeah,
interrupt
no.
you.
And so here's where I really attack the self doubt mindset. Um, First of all, Scripture tells us to think on things that are what? True and
Pure,
noble and wholesome, pure. And so
just.
we have to be very, very protective of
Mm,
what we give the power to filter into our mind. The other thing is that, who you surround yourself with affects how you feel.
mm,
And I'm also a big proponent to having community. Hence the neighboring book. In my neighborhood, I love my neighbors, but I admit I once did not. Right now, I can't imagine life without them. So what happens is I know I can go for a bike ride with Jeff, and when I get, call it, sad or feeling a little low, I know I need movement. I need to go outside. I need to go for a walk.
mm.
I need to go for a bike ride. Sometimes if I sit on the couch, I want to eat more Doritos. I need to get outside. So I'll text Jeff, bike ride. We'll go for a bike ride together. And just that movement and the community and the time together with somebody, it changes your mood. And so you have, I think life is more about how we cope, right? So if you're sad, that's not wrong. Or even if you're mad, that's not wrong. Jesus felt feelings too, but it's how you cope with those feelings, right? So now I need to go for a bike ride. I need to maybe, go eat a cucumber and not a Milky Way.
I'll marry one.
Thank you.
I know.
But you really do. You have to learn to cope well and know how you can help yourself through that moment of self doubt. I'll add one other PS personally about self doubt,
Mm.
Naz, is that I have found that we tend to make a moment that was a one time experience a permanent experience.
Mm. Oh, that's powerful.
When it was a moment, but it doesn't define you. It's why did we take that experience where I didn't record the interview? Am I an idiot? I'm never going to do an interview again with somebody. I'm never or you, I had a bad experience at a church speaking. It was like the worst embarrassment ever. What are you going to never take the stage again? It was a one moment experience, so you can't make that a permanent lifetime experience. Like you carry it into every day forever. I am now this way. It's like, no, you have to step through those experiences that are just a moment. They're
That's
not
powerful.
permanent.
That is powerful, Tim. That is powerful. Just you're just giving us gold nuggets right there. The movement, I have to admit, whenever you feel down or something, get up and move. Go some. Even
Right.
Jesus, when he felt when they beheaded his cousin John the Baptist, he walked away. He just walked. He went up there to the mount. It just movement is very important to be able to change the mood and stuff. And what do you call? You're right. I mean, there's so many people are still stuck on one event that happened. You know how many people who could have been great comedians that quit
Mm.
after they bombed one night? I mean, I had nights where I bombed in the past. That didn't make me quit. The next day I went back. I mean, I felt horrible until I got on stage again and got a big laughter. But that's life. You're right. Uh, man, I can't believe time is flying. But people already want you back before Christmas, so we need to
Okay.
have another. Okay, too close to ignore. Is that about
Mm.
Haiti?
It is. So Haiti is less than 700 miles off the coast of Florida.
Mm,
And so the statement that we've used often is Haiti is too close to ignore. But let me make a statement, Naz. If you forget everything we've talked about, don't
mhm.
forget this. Your mission field is right where you are. It's too close to ignore. You don't need to go
You're
to Haiti to have significance. All you need to do is ring the doorbell of your neighbor or knock on their door and say, I mean, if you have a neighbor, you have a mission field, right? And
right.
so your mission field is too close to ignore. It's right where you are.
You're right. You're right. I normally ask a last one. Build your cause. The 5 phases to
Okay.
do good better.
Okay, so I'm gonna do a rapid course. Here we go. You ready?
Ready.
The 5 phases to do good better. You focus your cause, right? So you can't, like, your cause is comedy. Well, you can't have a cause covering every need or problem or hope for the world. So you find a focus, right? So for us, it's the island of Hispaniola. We're helping Haiti and the Dominican Republic. So for me, Communicators Circle, it's communicators, right? Focus the cause, brand the cause. So you give it a name and identity, a brand, which is a brand is a promise, and the consistency of that promise makes the brand powerful. And I didn't invent that idea. That came from Stan Richards from the Richards Group in Dallas, Texas. He's one of the most brilliant minds when it comes to branding, Stan Richards. So focus your cause, brand your cause. Then once you brand it, then you can fund it. When you fund your cause, then you can do it. When you do it, then you get to lead it. Focus, brand, fund, do, lead. Those are the 5 phases to do good better.
Wonderful. How can people, as we're closing, go? I want to sponsor a child in Haiti.
Mhm.
How can I support the new mission ministry? How can I visit?
Sure.
If because it's the closest place. It's not, if you have a child in Africa or in Jerusalem like we do and all that, it's the closest to you is Haiti.
Yes.
How
New
can they?
missions, yeah, newmissions.org. And if you go to newmissions.org, there's children you can meet to sponsor if you want to online, or you can make a donation to help feed families in Haiti because we provide food through all of our campuses and our schools. Newmissions.org. And then for me, you can simply go to DeTellis.com, and I have a link to all the areas that I'm involved with in my life on that homepage. I kind of look at my TimDeTellis.com page as the portal. Like, I'll send you out to Laugh All Night or New Missions or Shoebox Drive or Communicator Circle. You'll find all the areas of my life because I believe, a lot of those things that I do, Naz, that you brought up are areas that I have passion for. Like
Mm,
New Missions, I lived in Haiti and I've seen how transformative the gospel is in people's lives. We say it this way: together we are preaching the gospel because only God changes lives forever. And together we're making disciples because discipleship is the true measurement of success. So when I see graduates who are now pastors and teachers and nurses, I see life change. In a village where there was no school, was no church, now there's transformational change. And so, in all of our lives, anyone that's watching today and listening, my question would be, what is the cause that you can bring to the world and make a difference. And for me, and those areas that you brought up, they're not always these large entities or something that you're growing and building. It's just something that you're spending time with because you care about people, like loving your neighbors or spending time with some young people that you're mentoring. I just believe we all can have a cause that's really going to make a difference in the world around us.
Amen. Thank you so much. You blessed so many today. It's just amazing. We have 73 people watching, and we're probably going to be over 1,800 downloads this month. So, thank you so much for what you do. I can't wait to work with you again and to be with you.
Thank you,
You're an
Nas.
amazing man of God. I
I
love
just
you so
hope.
much.
Well, I love you too. I just hope that we have some more chicken in a barrel, and I'll
Well,
I'll bring the pickles.
I don't think you will, so I'll just bring the. I have some cucumbers here. I watered this morning, so love you so much, man. Thank you
I
so
love you
much.
too.
Take care.
Thank you.